Karl Rove had been indicted, it would have been for perjury. That does not excuse his real sin, which is leaking the name of an intelligence operative during a time of war. He doesn't belong in the White House. If the president valued America more than he valued his connection to Karl Rove would have been fired a long time ago.
During a time of war. What a pompous character. That was Howard Dean, of course, earlier today, reacting to the news that after a 3-year investigation and at least 5 grand jury appearances, Karl Rove, it turns out, won't be indicted in the Valerie Plame CIA leak case. Rove is cleared, the White House is thrilled, and Dean is saying he ought to be fired anyway. Here to explain, Air America radio host Rachel Maddow. Rachel, welcome.
Nice to see you, Tucker. I totally agree with Howard Dean. Utterly.
You know, it's just, I can't, look, let me just, I've said 1,000 times I think this case is ridiculous. Nobody's ever going to be indicted. And turns out I was right, by the way, for the leaking of her name.
Right,
okay, but nobody will be indicted for leaking of her name. I believe you owe me something for that. I think a new car, but whatever.
No,
I'm not even going to hold you to that.
The worst thing was that you made such a bad bet there. You promised to give me your car, and you never asked anything of me.
Oh, foolish.
Such a bad bet.
So certain was I that I was right, and I was, in fact, right. But here's what bothers me. Look, if you don't like Karl Rove, you don't like the White House's policies, you're mad about Iraq, totally fair. Beat him at the ballot box, okay? That's how you win. That's how you get the realignment you're looking for. That's how you get Democrats into power, is by appealing to voters and winning during the election. Not by indicting people. You know what I mean?
Well, but if people do something wrong that's criminal, they ought to be indicted, clearly. I mean, you know, I don't take any joy in Karl Rove. I wouldn't take joy in him being arrested. I don't feel incredibly disappointed that he's not going to be. If he perjured himself or obstructed justice, or it could be indicted for having actually leaked the name of a CIA operative, then I would want him to be. But if he's in the clear, he's in the clear. I mean, when David Safavian and Duke Cunningham and the Department of Homeland Security spokesman, pedophile guy, when all these people get arrested, you don't feel happy about it. You feel disgusted. But if they've done something criminal, you want them to be held accountable.
And you didn't hear me defending any one of those guys, all of whom I thought deserved everything they got, at least. I just think this is a totally different case. I just don't, as I've said, I don't want to repeat myself endlessly. I don't think this was a case for which people ought to go to prison. But look, here's the political point I would make. From the very beginning, Democrats have said, you know, this Patrick Fitzgerald, he really is above partisan politics. What an upstanding man. I will abide, they have said, one by one, you know, whatever he decides, we'll stand by that, and that will be good enough for us. Lo and behold, he decides Karl Rove shouldn't, you know, be indicted, isn't guilty of a crime, and Democrats are still saying he is guilty of a crime.
No, people are saying he ought to be fired. What happened was, in September and October of 2003, Bush and his spokesman both said, we want to know who leaked the name, who leaked this classified information, and if we find out who it is, they're going to be fired. During the course of the investigation, we found out that Karl Rove did leak the name. He was the second source for Bob Novak, and he was one of the sources for Matt Cooper. He was the leaker. Now, all along, the mantra from the White House has been, we can't comment on this because it's an ongoing criminal investigation.
That's what they all say.
It's no longer an ongoing criminal investigation, and so now it's time to find the real killers. Now it's time to actually fire him.
That's where no, I don't think it's time to fire him, but that's where I agree. I want more information from my government. The rap on these guys from day one has been they're closed mouth, they don't tell the public anything, the public has a right to know. I have always agreed with that. They don't tell people anything. Leaking is good. It's our government. We pay for it. We elect it. We have the right to know what goes on in it. That's why all this talk about leaking, it hurts our country. No, it doesn't. It helps us, the voters, decide who to vote for.
Tucker, do you care that in October 2003, the president said, whoever I'm going to find the leaker and we're going to take care of him? Scott McClellan later clarified that what he meant was that that person would no longer be in the administration once they found who leaked. Now they know who leaked. He said that person would be fired. What's happening? What's happening?
First of all, I thought it was a ridiculous. It was Bush bowing to like popular.
I'm saying he would do something.
Right?
Now he's
exactly.
Not
first of all, it's not the only promise he's broken. I'm not here to defend Bush. I don't think he ought to have made the promise in the first place. And second, we actually don't know who leaked the original story to Bob Novak. We don't. We still don't know. And you know what? I don't care. I'm just glad to know it. I want to know. The public has a right to know, and we have a right in the press to disseminate that information to the public. Period.
The White House does not have a right to burn the cover of CIA operatives in order to make political
See, she worked at Langley. She worked at headquarters. She was hardly an operative. I've had next-door neighbors with deeper cover than that. Come on.
You've been trying to make the case that this isn't a crime because of who she is, and that's absolutely wrong. The CIA would have never sicked the Justice Department on it.
Trust me, I lived in D.C. for a long time. I know how this works, and with all due respect, you're wrong.
Trust me, I know who can be outed in the CIA and who can't. I don't trust you on this. I trust the CIA.
All right. I still want to know. Rachel Maddow, thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
You're wrong! Still ahead, the president surprised